Amina was the kind of woman who made heads turn wherever she went. Men stopped mid-step to stare. Women whispered her name like a secret. Her beauty wasn't loud. It was quiet, graceful, and haunting. They sent her flowers, perfume, and gold bracelets. But Amina never chose easily. She watched, she tested, and she waited. Every man who approached her had to pass her silent trial, though none ever knew they were being tested. One man took her to dinner in a fine restaurant. He spoke softly, called her beautiful, and told her she didn't need to work so hard to impress anyone. That night, Amina pretended to fall asleep with her makeup still on. In the morning he laughed and said gently, "You don't need all that paint, my dear. I want to see the real you." Amina smiled politely. But inside, something in her turned cold. She never called him again. Another admirer took her to the beach, wanting to show her the sea at sunset. Amina shook her head. "I don't like water," she said. He laughed, teasing, and tried to pull her closer to the waves. She yanked her hand free, her eyes sharp as glass. That was the last message he ever got from her. Every time a man asked to see her bare face, the light in her heart went out a little more. For Amina, it was simple. No one could ever see her without makeup. People called her proud, vain, obsessed. They said she loved her reflection more than she could ever love a man. But Amina didn't care what they said. Her makeup was not vanity. It was her armor. Behind every shade and brushstroke was a wall she had built to survive. When she painted her face, she wasn't hiding. She was protecting what little of herself she had left. Her dressing table looked like a miniature shop. Lipsticks lined like soldiers, bottles of powder, tiny silver brushes, and perfumes that shimmered like jewels. Every morning, she sat before her mirror, painting her face with quiet precision. Every night, she cleaned and redid it before bed, as if even sleep must not find her unguarded. She wore makeup to the market. She wore it to sleep. Even when she was sick, she asked for her mirror before medicine. To Amina, her face without makeup did not exist. It was not part of her world. Sometimes she sat for hours, gazing into the mirror, tracing her reflection with her fingertips. "This is me," she whispered to the woman in the glass. "This is who they love." And when her friends joked, saying she would be buried with her powder still on, she only laughed. But deep down, the thought of anyone seeing her bare face filled her with fear. Then came Yusuf. He was unlike the others, older, quiet, and thoughtful. He didn't rush her or shower her with gifts. He listened. When she spoke, he looked into her eyes, not at her lips. "Tell me your dreams," he said once, smiling gently. "Not what you wear, but what you wish for." Amina blinked, surprised. No one had ever asked her that before. With Yusuf she felt safe. He never asked to see her without makeup. He never teased or pried. He just held her hand as they walked and spoke of simple things, about life, books, and the taste of morning tea. "You make silence feel peaceful," she once told him. Yusuf smiled. "And you make words worth saying." For the first time, Amina began to believe love might exist beyond appearances. Days turned into months. People began to whisper, "Have you seen Amina? She's changed." She no longer searched for flaws in her reflection. When she laughed, it came from her heart, not her painted lips. She found herself imagining a life with Yusuf, a small home, perhaps, a garden, and the comfort of belonging. "Do you really love me?" she asked him once, eyes shining. "More than words," he said softly. So when Yusuf asked her to marry him, Amina didn't hesitate. Her heart leapt. She said yes before he could even finish the question. Their wedding was the talk of the town. The hall shimmered with light, and music filled the air. Guests gasped when they saw Amina enter, her beauty like a dream. "She looks like a goddess," someone whispered. Yusuf stood at the altar, smiling as though the sun itself had chosen to stand beside him. They exchanged vows, rings, and promises. The crowd clapped and cheered as Amina and Yusuf walked hand in hand down the aisle. By evening, when the music faded and the guests had gone, the two were finally alone. Their new room smelled of roses and candle wax. Amina's heart raced. Yusuf laughed joyfully, lifting her in his arms. "At last," he said, his voice soft and full of love. "Tonight you're mine." Amina smiled but turned her face slightly away whenever he leaned too close. She had done this all her life, protecting her secret without even thinking. But Yusuf didn't notice. He was too happy, too in love to see her fear. "Tonight is ours," he said, kissing her hands. "Nothing else matters now." His words made her smile, but her heart trembled beneath the layers of powder. Then, in a sudden moment, it happened. Yusuf's foot slipped on the edge of the carpet. He lost his balance and fell hard, his head striking the corner of the bed. The sound echoed through the room. "Yusuf!" Amina screamed, rushing to him. He lay still, eyes closed, his chest barely moving. Her heart stopped. She dropped to her knees beside him, trembling. "Please wake up. Don't leave me now." Her tears began to fall before she could stop them, hot, heavy drops rolling down her painted cheeks. She pressed her hand to his wound, crying, "Please, Yusuf. Please open your eyes." Her voice broke. Powder streaked across her fingers, mixing with tears. She didn't notice. For the first time in years, she forgot her face. All she saw was the man she loved lying lifeless before her. Then, at last, Yusuf groaned. His fingers twitched. His eyes opened slowly. Amina gasped with relief. "Thank God," she whispered, touching his shoulder. But when Yusuf's gaze lifted to her face, something in his expression changed. His eyes widened in confusion, then fear. "Amina," he whispered hoarsely. What happened to you?" Amina froze. Her breath caught in her throat. She touched her cheek and felt it. Dry skin, cracks, uneven patches where powder had washed away. The flawless mask she had worn for decades was melting. Yusuf pushed himself up weakly, his voice trembling. You're not the same. Who are you?" Amina shook her head, panic rising. "It's me, Yusuf. It's still me." But Yusuf's face twisted with horror. Before him stood not the radiant young bride he had carried minutes ago, but an old woman. Her skin wrinkled, her hair streaked with gray. His body shook. "No," he whispered. "This is not real. You're not her." He staggered toward the door, fumbling with the handle, but Amina caught his leg, crying, "Please, Yusuf. Don't go. Let me explain." He tried to pull away, fear in his eyes, but her trembling voice stopped him. "Please," she said again. "Just listen to me before you run." Yusuf hesitated. Something in her voice, fragile, human, and broken, made him stop. He sat back on the floor, breathing hard, whispering, "Tell me what this is." Amina wiped her face, the act only revealing more of her true self. Deep lines, pale skin, tired eyes. "It began long ago," she said. "I was 35 when I lost the man I loved," she began softly. "He left me for a younger woman. I thought my world had ended. I walked the streets that night, crying like a madwoman. That's when I met her. An old woman with eyes like smoke. She said she could ease my pain. She gave me a powder that would keep my youth forever. I was foolish, Yusuf. I took it. From that night I stopped aging." Amina continued, her voice shaking. "The men I dated grew old and died, but I stayed the same. I thought I was blessed, but I was cursed. The powder came with a rule. Never cry for anyone, no matter what. If my tears touched my skin, the spell would break." Her voice broke. "And now, it's broken. Because I cried for you." Yusuf's lips parted in shock. "You mean, you haven't aged for decades?" Amina nodded slowly, tears trembling at the corners of her eyes. "I have lived through generations, Yusuf. I watched the men who loved me turn gray, then weak, then die. But I stayed the same. Every time I cried for them, the powder warned me. I would lose what it gave." She looked at him desperately. "I didn't want that to happen again. I didn't want to be left alone." Yusuf stared at her, his heart pounding. The woman he married hours ago was older than his grandfather. His chest tightened with disbelief. "How old are you?" he asked quietly. Her lips trembled. 100, she whispered. "Maybe more. I stopped counting after 90. Silence filled the room. Only the flicker of candlelight danced across the floor. Amina bowed her head. "But when I met you, I felt human again. I felt time again." Yusuf pressed his back against the wall, breathing unevenly. His voice shook. "You lied to me. You deceived me." Amina shook her head frantically. "No, I loved you. I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid. Every time I tried, the words wouldn't come. I thought if you saw me this way, you'd run." "And you were right," Yusuf muttered under his breath. Amina's heart cracked. She crawled closer, reaching for his hand. "Please, Yusuf, look at me. I'm still the woman who laughed with you, who listened, who cared." He turned his face away, tears burning in his eyes. "The woman I married was 25, not a century old." Amina's hand shook. "But does it matter?" she whispered. "Age is skin. Love is soul." Yusuf looked at her, torn between pity and horror. "But you stole time. You played with nature." Amina shook her head fiercely. "No, I was punished by it. I lived too long, too lonely, too afraid." Her words trembled like candlelight. "Every night, I painted my face because I couldn't bear to see what I'd become. I thought beauty could hide my curse. I thought men's love could fill the emptiness. But nothing lasted, not even the lies I told myself." Yusuf said nothing. His eyes softened for a moment, then turned cold again. "You could have told me before I gave you my name." Amina's tears fell again, this time faster. "If I told you, would you still have loved me?" The question hung heavy in the air. Yusuf looked down, unable to answer. Amina nodded slowly, as if she already knew. "That's why I stayed silent," she whispered. "Because truth doesn't always save love, it sometimes kills it." She reached for his face, but he stepped back. "Please," she said. "I broke the one rule for you. Cried for you, Yusuf. Don't let it be for nothing." But Yusuf's fear grew stronger than his compassion. "I don't know who you are anymore," he said quietly. "I married a dream, not this." Amina's breath caught. "Don't say that," she pleaded. "I am that dream, only without the powder." But Yusuf shook his head. "No, you're a stranger wearing her shadow." His words pierced her like knives. Her shoulders slumped, and her tears fell freely, washing more of the powder from her cheeks. Suddenly, the air in the room shifted. The candles flickered violently. Amina gasped as her skin began to change again. The lines deepened, her hair turned completely white, and her back bent. She cried out, "No, not yet." Her voice cracked with terror. "Please, not now." Yusuf watched, frozen in horror, as she aged right before his eyes, each second stealing her strength, each tear dissolving her mask further. Her trembling hands reached for him. "Help me, Yusuf. Please." But he stepped backward, his face pale. "I can't," he whispered. "This is beyond me." Amina fell to her knees. "Then just stay. Don't go. I don't want to die alone." Her words echoed painfully through the room. Yusuf's eyes filled with tears, but he couldn't move. Fear rooted him in place as the woman he once called his bride became frail and ghost-like. The powder on her face cracked entirely. Her voice grew faint. "It hurts," she whispered. "It burns inside me." Yusuf swallowed hard, guilt creeping into his chest. "What's happening to you?" She looked up weakly. "The years I borrowed are returning. Every tear brings them back." Yusuf knelt slowly, torn between fear and compassion. "Amina, she smiled faintly through her pain. "Don't say sorry. Just stay with me till it ends." He hesitated, then reached out, touching her trembling hand. Her skin felt paper-thin, almost weightless. "I'm here," he whispered. "I won't leave you." Amina's eyes softened, a tear of relief falling down her cheek. "Thank you," she breathed. I was afraid I'd vanish without anyone remembering me. Yusuf squeezed her hand gently. You won't vanish. I'll remember you. As the woman who taught me how fragile beauty really is. Her lips quivered into a weak smile. Then maybe my curse has finally given something good. Her eyes flickered to the mirror across the room. The reflection staring back was no longer the goddess everyone admired but a frail woman whose time had come. Do you still see her? She whispered. Yusuf followed her gaze. No, he said softly. I see you now. Amina's eyes shimmered with tears that no longer frightened her. I wanted to be loved, she murmured. I thought beauty was the only way to keep it. Yusuf's hand tightened around hers. Love doesn't need a mask, he said gently. It needs truth. Amina nodded slowly. Then I've learned it too late. Her breath grew shallow. Yusuf, promise me one thing. Anything, he said. When they find me, don't wipe away my makeup. Let it stay. It's who I was. And who I tried to be. Yusuf's eyes filled with tears. You don't need it anymore, he whispered. You're beautiful as you are. Amina smiled faintly, her voice fading. Then maybe I can rest. Her fingers loosened, slipping from his grasp. Yusuf called her name, but she didn't answer. The candle beside them flickered once, then went out. Silence filled the room like a shroud. For a long time Yusuf didn't move. He sat beside her still body, his heart heavy with grief and disbelief. The woman he loved had lived a century in hiding, and all she ever wanted was to be seen. Slowly he stood and walked to the mirror. His reflection stared back, young, strong and haunted. Behind him, Amina's lifeless form lay like a forgotten story, one he would carry forever. Morning came quietly. The first rays of sunlight slipped through the curtains, painting gold across her face. The powder that once hid her truth now looked like dust from a fading dream. Yusuf knelt beside her one last time and whispered, You can rest now, Amina. Time has finally caught up. Then he closed her eyes gently and covered her with a white shawl. When the neighbors came knocking, Yusuf told them only that his wife had fainted and never woke up. They wept for the beautiful young bride who had died too soon, never knowing the truth of the woman who lay beneath the veil. Yusuf kept her secret, carrying it like a promise. Heavy but sacred at her burial, Yusuf stood alone beneath the sun. The priest spoke of love and loss, of beauty that fades and souls that endure. Yusuf's eyes never left the coffin. He remembered her words. Love is soul. And though fear had once driven him, now it was sorrow that stayed. He placed a single white rose on her grave and whispered, Goodbye, my ageless one. Years later, Yusuf would sometimes dream of her. In his sleep, he saw her young again, smiling beneath the moon, her laughter soft as the sea. But in those dreams she wore no makeup. Her face was bare, honest and free. And when he woke, he would whisper to the night, Now I see you as you truly were. And so ended the tale of Amina, the woman who defied time, who wore beauty as armor and love as hope. Her story became a whisper among the townspeople, a warning told to daughters and lovers alike. Not all that glitters is gold. Behind every perfect face lies a truth unseen. And when the mask finally breaks, love must decide whether to flee or to forgive.